The news flashed across screens worldwide. Harvard professor admits Filipino English is real, and we were wrong. For decades, Filipinos faced the quiet insult that their English was somehow lesser. This stereotype cut deep, questioning the intelligence of a nation known for its English proficiency. But this headline promised change. It was the climax of a story that began with one man's prejudice and ended with a nation's vindication. For years, only British and American English were seen as real. Filipino English, with its unique cadence, was dismissed as a deviation. Millions of Filipinos abroad felt this sting, praised for their skills, judged for their accent. The world was about to learn that this judgment was based on a profound misunderstanding. Dr. Alistair Finch, a Harvard linguistics professor, had built his career defending standard English. He saw Filipino English as a case of language decay, until his trip to the Philippines changed everything. This is the story of how a nation's voice, long dismissed, was finally heard. The world was about to get a lesson in humility, taught by 100 million Filipinos. In Geneva, at a global education summit, Dr. Finch stood among international academics. The topic turned to global English standards. In places like the Philippines, they have developed a pidgin they call English, Finch declared. It lacks the rigor of real English. It's a local variant, not a model for global communication. A young scholar challenged him. Filipino English has its own rules and literature. Isn't it a legitimate world English? Finch dismissed her. Consistency isn't correctness. We must be clear about the distinction. He announced his upcoming research trip to Manila, confident he'd find evidence of language decay. He packed his notebooks, ready to document errors. But this conversation in Geneva was the beginning of the end of his certainty. He saw himself as a gatekeeper, but the universe had a different lesson planned. He booked his flight, expecting to confirm his theories. Little did he know, his beliefs were about to be shattered. The moment his plane touched down in Manila, the real lesson would begin. The wall of certainty he'd built was about to crack. The seeds of doubt had been planted. Dr. Finch stepped into the humid embrace of Manila, expecting to find broken English. His taxi driver greeted him. "Good morning, sir. Welcome to Manila. Where to?" The conversation was fluid, natural, and intelligent. The driver pointed out landmarks, spoke with broad vocabulary, and made no errors. At the hotel, the staff addressed him in polished, professional English. "We have your reservation ready, Dr. Finch. We hope you have a pleasant stay." Every interaction was seamless. He expected to find language decay, but instead, he found effortless communication. That evening, room service took his order with precision. "Would you like your steak medium rare or medium well, sir?" Where were the errors he was so eager to document? He looked at his empty notebook. Less than 12 hours in Manila, and his hypothesis was already on shaky ground. The evidence was all around him, not in mistakes, but in mastery. The trip was just beginning, but his perspective was already shifting. The broken English he sought was nowhere to be found. Instead, he found a living, breathing language. The first cracks in his certainty had appeared. Manila was teaching him more than he expected. Dr. Finch's first official stop was a local university debate. The topic, the role of artificial intelligence in modern ethics. He expected awkward phrasing and grammatical slips. Instead, the first speaker opened, "We stand at a precipice where human creation and consciousness blur." Her language was sophisticated, her arguments logical and passionate. Her opponent countered with equal eloquence. AI is a tool, not a sentient entity. Ethics lie within its creators. The debate was a masterclass in rhetoric and critical thinking. These students wielded English like a finely honed sword. Idioms, metaphors, complex arguments, delivered with skill that rivaled any Ivy League debate. Dr. Finch forgot to take notes, captivated by their brilliance. He had come expecting a flawed copy, but found something vibrant and alive. The experience was a direct assault on his theories. The crack in his wall of certainty widened. Perhaps he was the one who had been wrong all along. Seeking a different experience, Dr. Finch ventured into Quiapo Market. He expected to find broken English among the chaos. At a textile stall, the vendor switched effortlessly between Japanese, Korean, and English. "Hello, sir. That is a traditional yakan weave from Mindanao. Are you looking for a gift?" Dr. Finch was speechless. The vendor, Elena, had never been to college. She learned languages in the market. You have to speak their language to make a connection. It's about respect and good business. English is easy, she said. We learn it in school, see it on TV. It's just one of our languages. For her, English was a tool, not a pedestal. Dr. Finch bought the textile, realizing his prejudice was crumbling. Elena's practical command of language humbled him. She was not just speaking English, she was living in a world of many languages. His theory of language decay seemed absurd in the face of this richness. He left the market with a profound sense of humility. The market vendor had taught him more than any textbook ever could. What he witnessed was not decay, but linguistic brilliance. The climax of Dr. Finch's trip was the National Education Conference. He stood before thousands of Filipino educators, his speech softened by his experiences. He spoke of global standards, hinting that Filipino English was a barrier. The applause was polite but reserved. Then a young teacher named Maria stood up. Who sets the standard? Isn't it colonial to say one English is more real than another? Our English expresses our identity. The crowd murmured in agreement. An older professor added, "We have our own grammar, our own literature. We are co-owners of English." The applause was thunderous. Dr. Finch was exposed, not as an authority, but as a guest being corrected. The questions kept coming, each one a testament to Filipino pride. They used their deficient English to dismantle his arguments. For the first time, Dr. Finch had no answer. He witnessed a nation stand up to prejudice, and knew, with shame, that they were right. The old hierarchy was crumbling before his eyes. The day after the conference, Dr. Finch visited a small public school. The walls were decorated with English words and colorful drawings. Maria, the teacher who had challenged him, welcomed him. "Class, we have a special visitor today. This is Dr. Finch from America." The children greeted him in bright, clear English. Maria invited him to ask questions. "What's your favorite story?" he asked a girl. "The Tick Belongs, sir, but I also loved Charlotte's Web. I cried when Charlotte died." Another student. "I want to be an engineer, sir, to build strong bridges for the Philippines." The children spoke with openness and intelligence, using English as their own tool. Maria guided them with patience and skill, empowering them to have a voice. In this humble classroom, Dr. Finch's academic arrogance crumbled. He saw not a derivative language, but a living one, full of hope. Tears welled up in his eyes. "Your English is beautiful," he said. "It is strong, and it is real. I was wrong." He looked at Maria. "You are not just teaching a language, you are building a nation." In that classroom, he shed his prejudice and embraced the truth. The transformation was complete. Back at Harvard, Dr. Finch saw his institution through new eyes. He requested a special lecture on Filipino English, a retraction, and a re-examination. The hall was packed, expecting confirmation of his old theories. Instead, he told stories of the taxi driver, the hotel staff, the market vendor, the debaters, and the children. "I went to the Philippines to study a broken language, but I was the one who was broken. My theories were flawed." He publicly retracted his previous arguments. Filipino English is not a pidgin. It is a legitimate, vibrant world English. He projected a picture of Maria and her students. "These are the experts. They are co-owners of English." The silence was absolute. He had dismantled his own life's work in front of his peers. Our job as linguists is not to be gatekeepers, but observers. English has more than one home. Its center of gravity is no longer just in London or New York, but in Manila, Lagos, Singapore, and beyond. The hall erupted in applause. It was an act of intellectual courage and profound integrity. The truth could no longer be denied. The impact of Dr. Finch's confession was immediate and global. News outlets worldwide picked up the story. Harvard linguist reverses stance, champions Filipino English. The lecture went viral, sparking a new conversation about legitimacy, not deficits. For Filipinos, it was a moment of immense pride and vindication. Maria became a national hero, symbolizing the professionalism of Filipino educators. For millions abroad, it was a profound affirmation of their identity. The academic world was forced to reconsider its old hierarchies. Textbooks were revised, conferences organized, and the old order began to crumble. Dr. Finch's journey sparked a revolution in linguistics. The story became a modern parable about humility, truth, and the courage to admit you're wrong. For the Philippines, it was the end of a long struggle for dignity. Their voice was now a respected sound in the global chorus. The truth was out, spoken in beautiful, powerful Filipino English.